Day 2 of early voting for the upcoming Texas primaries now in the books. Democrats and Republicans trying to figure out who will represent them on the November ballot.
Travier Gonzalez live in the McAllen newsroom with a closer look at the race for Congressional District 15. And Travier, there are a lot of names in the mix, especially among Republican hopefuls.
Oscar Christine, that's absolutely correct. I spoke with Dr. Clyde Barrow with UTRGV, and he essentially gave me a history lesson. He says in the 80s, President Ronald Reagan was able to convince conservative Democrat voters to join the Republican Party. He says right now, Democratic leaders are becoming more and more liberal, and as a result, a lot more Democrats are shifting over, as a repeat of history, to the Republican Party.
When it comes to congressional numbers, there's a noticeable change. District 15's lineup in 2020, Vicente Gonzalez against 3 Republicans. Gonzalez narrowly winning that general election against Republican challenger Monica De La Cruz is something that started a fire.
Before that, nobody would ever even take us seriously, thinking that this area is just blue, it'll never change. And so it was sort of what we needed to sort of show that we are an area we're forced to be reckoned with.
With Gonzalez leaving for a different district, that race is now 6 Democrats against 9 Republicans.
There's no question about it. I mean, there are more people who self-identify and openly identify as Republicans now, and they're running for office. The Republican Party is more competitive than it's ever been.
Dr. Clyde Barrow detailing that with Democratic leaders seemingly becoming more progressive, it's a change that's turning some voters red, something he says was set off by former President Trump. And with several candidates presenting themselves as supporters of Trump, Hidalgo County's GOP leader says that support helps keep them diverse.
There's always been different factions in the Republican Party, and I think it's healthy because it's going to bring more people in.
But a leader across the aisle argues that what some call diversity is instead division.
The Republican Party locally and nationally is very divided, whereas we are very united as a Democratic Party. And frankly, the Republican Party no longer exists as a party itself. It has become a party of Trump.
And despite Barrow calling District 15 a textbook example of gerrymandering, the Hidalgo County Democratic chair saying that even with the greater amount of Republicans, it is not a lost cause for Democrats.
South Texas, we feel very comfortable. We are united in South Texas. We are motivated. We will stand our ground, and we'll turn out the voters, and we'll have victory in November.
Now, I want to make sure you know that we were able to give the first word over to Republicans and the last word over to Democrats. Now, when it comes to people showing up at those polls, Dr. Barrow says, opposed to the presidential election, the voter turnout is not expected to be something we would see as significant. Still, there is a possibility that the governor's race with Beto O'Rourke is something that could stir up young progressives to make that happen. We'll let you know, and we'll be following that race, of course. Live in McAllen, Travier Gonzalez, Channel 5 News at 10.